السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Before we start, if you can move up a little bit, fill in these gaps, there are lots of people standing in the back. تفسحوا في المساجد. If you can move up, please. Move up, please. Thank you. الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله. الحمد لله الرحمن الرحيم الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله غافر الذنوب جميعها إلا الشرك به، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وعلى صحبه وعلى التابعين. Shut this microphone. We praise Almighty Allah, the one who created the universe. And He has chosen Adam and Eve to cultivate, develop, and populate earth, and made them from the same raw material of earth, that's dust and water. We ask Him Almighty to shower His blessings and prayers and all of God's prophets, including His Prophet Abraham, and his two children, Ishmael and Isaac, Ishmael and Ishaq, and all the subsequent prophets and messengers, including prophets Moses, Musa, and Jesus, Isa, and the seal of all prophets, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi jami'an wa sallam. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I announce before you as witnesses, and Allah is the best of all witnesses, that there is only one deity, Allah, the one, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I believe that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his last messenger. Islam is a way of life, a way to conduct ourselves, to behave with others. And that means that the Muslim is not only about a name, about rituals, but about character and behavior. And one of the most important characters that we concentrate on as we read in the Holy Quran, as we read the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, is as-sabr, patience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals in Surah Al-Imran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who believe, isbiru, be patient, wasabiru, and be diligent in your patience, warabitu, and never abandon patience or dilute your efforts to be patient. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His infinite wisdom created each and every one of us to prepare him or her for a specific task. Each like a small piece of a perfectly fitted system representing the puzzle of life. And the best gift that Allah would give any of us is to discover what he or she have been created for, and what is the talent that Allah has given him, and the contribution that's expected from him in this life. The task can range from being a simple jobber, a planner, a consumer, or a big boss. After all, we cannot all be bosses without planners and workers. And by the same token, we cannot all be workers without managers and bosses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals in the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ حَتَّى نَعْلَمَ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّابِرِينَ وَنَبْلُوَ أَخْبَارَكُمْ. The meaning of this wonderful verse in chapter 47, verse 31, Allah says, and most certainly we shall try you all, so that we might mark out those of you who strive hard in our cause and are patient in adversity. For we shall put to test the truth of all your assertions. So the process of life is about testing you, about preparing you for bigger and better responsibilities and bigger and better jobs. In His process of training us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates events that would test our resolve and thicken our skin to withstand more trying tests that will follow in the future. Some of us will give up easily, become pessimistic about the future, and drop out. No one will notice his or her absence, and the work will keep going on. Others stay the course, work diligently to resolve the difficulty, and meet the challenge with patience, hard work, and a big smile that reflects the feeling that Allah has chosen him or her to train and to prepare for a bigger and more challenging responsibility. لَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ حَتَّى نَعْلَمَ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّابِرِينَ وَنَبْلُوَ أَخْبَارَكُمْ. I want to share with you a personal story. I have a very dear friend, for a long number of years, 50 years now. And he was very highly qualified. And this friend has lost his job 3 times. He had an open heart surgery. And every time we would go out and try to strengthen his resolve, making him feel good and better, he smiles and he laughs. See, what are you talking about? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen me to give me a forced vacation because He's preparing me for a bigger job. And you know something? And Allah is my witness. He got a much bigger job and a much bigger responsibility. So it is the way you look at the challenges that Allah faces you with. You can look at it as a curse, like some people say, oh, this has happened to you because it's a curse from Allah. He's punishing you. Allah is not a one-dimensional entity. It is a billions and billion-dimensional entity. Something might be happening 100,000 miles away from you, maybe affecting you indirectly, and you don't know. Unfortunately, we use measurements, human measurements, in feeling about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, when Allah chooses you with a test, don't give up. Don't say, I quit, I'm not playing. I've seen a documentary on television of some of the young men and women who participated in the Arab Springs. And when it failed, they said, we don't believe in God, we are become agnostics, and we don't play anymore. Wow, too bad. Because that means that those who trained them did not train them on the concept of patience. And I've chosen this subject today to share it with you so you can share it with the next generation. Because if we don't train our children, especially in this society, which throws things away. If the cell phone doesn't work, throw it away and get a new one. If a wife is not fitting you, divorce her and get another wife. If the husband is not good, get rid of him and get another husband, and so on and so forth. But the character of a Muslim is patience. I once was walking with a person who had somebody who died in his family. And then another asked me, why is he smiling? He should be very sad. I smiled and I said, smiling is a manifestation of believing in a future which is owned by one and only one, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Farmers throughout the world, regardless where they come from, developed or developing countries, all alike, know that growing crops require that they fit their own cogwheel with that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Farmers know that the thin layer of fertile soil needs to be moist in order to benefit from its fertility. So the farmer either waits for the rain or irrigates the soil in order to make it ready for planting. Farmers also know that they cannot produce summer crops in the winter or winter crops in the summer unless they simulate such conditions. Conditions defined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, you can produce summer crops in the winter if you have a canopy which is air conditioned such that it fits what Allah has defined to be the growing conditions of that particular plant. One of the character aspects of the Prophet ﷺ's mission was his steadfast forbearance in the face of difficulties encountered on the divine path of inviting people to Islam. The Quran reveals in chapter 30, verse number 60, فَاصْبِرْ, so be patient. إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ, the promise of Allah is indeed going to be manifested and realized. وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَّنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُوقِنُونَ وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَّنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. And don't let those who do not believe in Allah shake your belief in the fact that Allah will fulfill His promises to us. Stay the course. Don't ever feel weak or defeated, because the promise of Allah is going to be with you. The Arabic word for patience is sabr, and is almost universally used by all Muslims in the world, regardless of their language, because it is a fundamental foundation of the Muslim character that was tied with prayers in many revelations in the Holy Quran. Give you an example. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salat. Take help and assistance through two actions: patience and prayers. Inna Allaha ma'a sabirin. Allah indeed is with those who are patient. One of the words derived from the same root is sabbar, meaning hard and resilient cactus plants that can grow under the most difficult weather conditions and unfertile grounds of the desert, yet has the ability to bend with the winds without breaking and giving in. And those of you who know the Arabic language, sabbar is a word for cactus, and it is derived from the word sabr, patience. And the sabbar, or the cactus, it can sniff the smallest trace of humidity and takes advantage of it. And when the going gets tough and so windy, it doesn't break, it just bends. And that is what the character of a believer in La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah should be. It is inconceivable that one who trusts in Almighty Allah for the sake of a just cause, Islam, should find himself or herself forsaken or forgotten by Allah. The Quran, revealed by Allah, promises that when Muslims are confronted with enemies and are outnumbered and out-equipped, the divine support compensates for their inferiority in two mechanisms. One is calmness, and two, they would see the enemy of Allah much less in numbers, and they would feel themselves much stronger. It's a gift, a divine gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Calmness and confidence enter the hearts of the believers, while fear and weakness weakens their opponents. The rule is applicable to every human activity, including business, including education, including relationships and living in general. There are conditions for this promise from Allah to be fulfilled. If you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be on your side, then there are three conditions that we have to fulfill. Number one, absolute belief in Allah and the hereafter. And it's not just saying it, but practicing it. Nothing will shake you up. It doesn't mean that you go in an arrogant way, insulting people and say, I believe in Allah, nobody is going to bother me. But it means that if you have an idea, if you have a plan, if you have a goal, and you put your trust in Allah and you keep doing it, Allah will be on your side and will support you, and no one will be able to shake you, because you have utmost and absolute belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, not sit still and wait for Allah to help you, because Allah doesn't send armaments for you to help on your behalf with. Allah relies on your work, your hard work, your dedication. Number two, doing the best we can, and full planning and preparation in advance for what we want to achieve. And number three, sincerity in what we do. Al-Ikhlas. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was reported to have said that Ikhlas sincerity magnifies the power of your work. If you work for 2 hours sincerely, it may produce 10 hours worth of work. And that is what the Prophet taught us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There are 2 types of people in this world. Those who sincerely choose to work in the path of Allah and maintain strict ethical standards, and others whose actions are free of all restrictions. Those who are firm believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can easily be affected by the so-called unrestricted style of behavior. This is where sabr comes to the rescue of the person, preventing him from giving up just because his words seem to having no effect on others. Fasbir, be patient. Inna wa'da Allahi haqq, the promise of Allah is the truth. وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَّنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُقِنُونَ. And those who do not believe, do not allow them to weaken your resolve and your patience. Sometimes sabr, patience, takes on another form, and that is steadfastness and forbearance in the face of persecution. This was the method adopted by all of the prophets of Allah. They used to say to their adversaries, "We will endure your persecution patiently. In God, let all the faithful put their trust." وَمَا لَنَا أَلَّا نَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Now how can we not put our trust in Allah? وَقَدْ هَدَانَا سُبُلَنَا. And He has guided us on the righteous path. وَلَنَصْبِرَنَّ عَلَى مَا أَذَيْتُمُونَا. And we will practice patience against all torture, the persecution that you have exposed us to. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُتَوَكِّلُونَ. And it is unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we are going to put our trust. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, one who is really working for God's sake will not be affected by the reactions of men and women to what he is doing or she is doing. The difficulties one encounters in the pursuit of God's good pleasure then are really a test of one's sincerity. Unless one proves one's sincerity, one cannot expect one's words to have an effect on others. What comes from the heart, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, reaches the heart. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم إنه لا يغفر ولا النصير. ادعوا الله يغفر لكم ذنوبكم ويكفر عنكم سيئاتكم. الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله. الحمد لله الرحمن الرحيم الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله غافر الذنوب جميعها إلا الشرك به. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وعلى صحبه وعلى التابعين. Now, we are good in lecturing. We are good in talking. We are good in touching hearts. But we are not good in training to prepare for the future. I want to see one Islamic center around the United States and Canada, and I have left 50 years of observation and service, that trains the young men and women on one character trait, and that's patience. And if you don't know about the training programs, I want to invite you to watch the training programs that the priests and the nuns in the Catholic Church are exposed to. It is unbelievable. I want you to read about the training program that the youth in the Mormon LDS Church go through. Give you an example. From the time a parent has a child, they save for him or her until they reach the age of 18 and they graduate from high school. They don't go to college, but they pledge 2 years to serve the church. Not in wonderful Southern California, but in the smallest villages in Latin America, in Africa, or anywhere in Asia. And they cannot speak English, and they cannot read English, and they cannot communicate with their parents except in a limited way, 15 minutes every 6 months. And their parents cannot come and visit them for 2 years, and I personally have seen them. When they were going on their mission, and coming back from their mission after 2 years, they spoke to me with a heavier accent than my accent. It's unbelievable. And there you see the character that person built. And that's what we lack in our Islamic movement. We are very good in building masajid, are very good in having schools, and very good in giving lectures, and very good in giving fiery speeches, but very, very weak in training for the future. Training not for a group of people that are isolated in an underground movement. This is America. We want to train our men and women on how to be first-class citizens with a character. When we walk, people will notice. When we talk, people will listen to. When they act, people will notice their activities and their contributions. اللهم رب العالمين اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول ويتبعون أحسنه. Mighty Allah, we ask you that we'll be amongst those who listen to what's being said and will follow to the best of our ability, the best of it, inshallah, and I will be the first to do so. اللهم إني داعٍ تقول آمين. اللهم اجمع قلوبنا على محبتك وعلى الإيمان بك وعلى نور هدايتك. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. Mighty Allah, we ask you to guide us to the righteous path, to bless our parents and grandparents, to forgive us our misdeeds. Mighty Allah, we ask you to bless our children. Give us the best gift of all gifts we ask for in this life, as revealed in the Holy Quran. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذين يقولون ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. Those who say, Ya Allah, give us the best of all gifts we ask for in marriage, spouses, husbands and wives, and offspring, children and grandchildren, and parents and grandparents, that we are the best achievers in this world to establish justice and peace and fairness as you revealed in the Holy Quran and according to the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mighty Allah, we ask you to give every unmarried man a good wife to complete his life, and every unmarried woman a good husband to complete her life. Mighty Allah, we ask you to bless the brothers and sisters who are taking care of this Islamic center and all Islamic centers and masajid all over the world, Ya Allah. Mighty Allah, we ask you to bless our parents and grandparents, our spouses and our children and grandchildren. Mighty Allah, we ask you to give speedy recovery to the ill and the sick, that will send them home safe and sound, and that will comfort those who need to be comforted, Ya Allah. Mighty Allah, we ask you to send your angels of peace and prosperity to overtake and defeat the devils of wars and destruction. Mighty Allah, we ask you to send the refugees back home and to make it easy on those who are not home yet, Ya Allah. That will accept those who died in vain in what's happening in the world. Accept them in paradise as martyrs for your cause. Mighty Allah, we ask you to accept our prayers and forgive us our misdeeds. and that you will forgive all the Muslims and all the believers. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك أنت سميع مجيب الدعوات. And before I conclude with Dibajatul Khatm al-Khutbah, or the standard way of completing the khutbah in all schools of thoughts, the Imam would say, Ibad Allah, all the service of Allah. And then he would proceed to quote from the Holy Quran. He would say, Inna Allah ya'muru bil-adli wal-ihsan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders you to be just in calibrating the rights of people, in doing what you are supposed to be doing, in delivering your responsibilities, in the way you talk, in the way you interact with people of all backgrounds, bil-adli wal-ihsan, and to excel in doing so. Allah accepts no less than excellence in everything you do. And that's another thing we need to train on. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ إِذَا عَمِلَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَمَلًا أَنْ يُتْقِنَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you to excel and perfect what you do. عَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. And to connect with your relatives and kin and those who are close to you. And sometimes time will pass, and I am guilty of this, that you don't see your brother, not in flesh and blood and mother and father, for ages, and you don't have the time to call them. I remember when I came to this country 50 years ago, to make a phone to Egypt, where I come from, we had to wait for 3 months, 3 months. And we used to pay $30 for the call of 3 minutes. And if you're not at home at the time they call you, you have to wait 3 more months. Today, it's free of charge. You go Google, you go Messenger, you go Viber, whatever. All we want to invest are 2 or 3 minutes of your time to call your mom, to call your dad, to call your brother, to call your uncle, to call your nephew, to call your neighbor. Call somebody here in Los Angeles that you haven't seen in 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months, and say, Assalamu alaikum, I love you. One of our practice is to collect resumes for the people that deal with us. So they say, what do you need a resume for? I say, well, we want to be proud of your achievement. So one time, I got a resume so thick, online, so impressive, of an Iranian scientist who is a Nobel Prize winner who used to live in Brussels, and he came to live in America. So I called him up, and I said, you know, I really am impressed. He said, brother, do you want a donation? I said, no, wallahi, I'm not calling you a donation. I'm calling you to commend you and congratulate you for what you have achieved. He said, wallahi, they only call me when they need a donation. And I'm saying this not lightly, I'm saying it seriously. If you want people to donate to your efforts, you need to take care of them. You need to show them that you love them, you appreciate them, that you commend them on their achievements. And that is the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not my talking, it is the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He Almighty forbids despicable activities. When munkari thinks that you automatically tend to deny that you have done because it's so shameful. Well, bagh, transgression, taking away the rights of people to speak their mind, to express their opinions, to own properties. يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون أقيموا الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ويعظكم الله